My during reading strategy this week is on written conversation. So, written conversation is where students write short notes and responses to each other about a passage, article, video, or something like a science experiment. Students pass notes in pairs or small groups, and they recommend a maximum of 4 students in a group. More than that, and it can kind of be too many. This method is also sometimes called a dialogue journal or a write around, and it allows students to put their thoughts into words, and it can be structured so students are taking and defending positions based on what they have read. So, how to have a written conversation. So, after reading or kind of during reading, have students identify partners or a small group. Each student needs to have a full-size blank sheet of paper and a pen. And then students should start writing for 2 to 3 minutes about what they've just read. Um, and this can be just open-ended, write what do you think? Or you can start them with a prompt like, you know, what do you think about how this situation was handled? Or where do you think this could be applied in the real world? Okay, so then students, after 2 to 3 minutes, students swap papers with their partners and then write responses to whatever their partners have written. And try to encourage students to continue writing the whole time. Try not to have students just writing 4 words and then sitting there wasting time for 2 minutes. But then continue swapping every 2 to 3 minutes, several times so a conversation gets going. After several swaps, students can then talk to their partners out loud for a couple of minutes, which really helps keep the conversation going and keeps them engaged. Now, they're having a conversation about what they've written. And then after that, you can have a whole class discussion afterwards, where the entire class is more engaged and willing to participate. They already have their thoughts and ideas kind of lined up. So more students are willing to share what they've written or what they are thinking about. So the example I have, I had an article called Engineers Draw Inspiration from Geometric Frustration. And this video was about halfway through. So that video was about halfway through the article. It kind of gave some background and everything, and then you could see these structures that these mathematicians and scientists are looking at. So after they'd watch that video, what I would do is I would have students pair up and write for 2 minutes and start it with a prompt like, what application might this technology have? And, one student might start by saying, I think this technology could have applications where we try to get something into space, maybe like a solar panel, and it can be folded up really tightly to start and unfolded later on. And the other student might say, this application might have something in the medical field where if we have to have surgery and implant something in the body, maybe then it unfolds once we get it in there and it can cover an organ or something like that. And then they can continue to switch papers back and forth. The one might say, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. I've seen something like that with one of the new satellites, or and they can continue to switch those back and forth, and a conversation gets going, and they start thinking more and more creatively about what types of things can come from this technology. And then after they've switched a few times, we can bring it back to a full class discussion about some different examples of what people have thought of, and students already have their kind of their thoughts and ideas put together, so they're far more willing to participate. And then after kind of that, a couple minutes of class discussion, then we can go back to finish reading the article. Hopefully the students are a little bit more engaged and willing to think about it. Okay, so why is it effective? Well, whole class discussion often leaves many students disengaged. When everybody in a room is writing about what they've just read, they become more deeply involved with the material. And because everyone is actively thinking and producing ideas and responses, a whole group discussion at the end of the article has a bigger impact and more participation.